Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today we're going to be checking out X-23. Unfortunately, X-23 has not been transcended by me yet, but I will try to feature her as best as I can untranscended to give you an idea of whether you want to buy her uniform. But in general, the way that it works for characters that are released or uniforms for existing characters that are released, it always begs the question of whether you are going to max out that character. And that is why we were really hoping that Rogue wasn't just going to get a uniform and not a tier 3. So of course, I would say if you're going to if you were going to transcend Laura X-23 no matter what, then yes, this uniform is a much buy because it's a huge upgrade over her old uniform. But if you're wondering whether you should just purchase this uniform to have it for existing content, I think I have a pretty good not only explanation and rotation and build guide, but I also have a very good comparison of another character who she's basically a better version of. So you're taking a look at the rotation right now. I'm actually missing my proc a lot, but the damage is not bad. On stage 65 of Proxima, with the build that I have, I can get her down to her first phase in about a minute, which means that she can probably clear a little bit higher than stage 65. And this is with 0 strikers, and this is with, Beast and Taskmaster. This team up could actually be better. I could use Nick Fury instead of Beast, but I'm using Beast here because I'm going to switch up the example in a second. So Beast is a good leadership for X-23. It also has to do with her debuff passive, not stacking with a debuff leadership. But I'm going to now swap over the team pretty quickly to Dr. Voodoo and Morbius. It's a pretty similar team, but instead of Beast, we're going to be using Dr. Voodoo. And we're going to be taking advantage of, actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and just do this. We're going to do the exact same team instead of taking advantage of Morbius is minus 60% all defense down. So I know this is an X-23 video, but I want to just do a really brief comparison to a character that we all thought was really good when he came out, although he was too expensive at the time because he was a paywall character. Now you needed him once upon a time. Well, I got snared there. You needed him once upon a time for Moon Knight. That changed. You don't need any additional characters anymore, and so you just you can just sort of sit here and compare Morbius as is to X-23. And you know what? I'm actually missing his proc a lot as well, too. It's just the day to miss procs, I guess. So we're getting snared here, but you can see the damage is pretty lackluster. It's going to be better if I use a debuff leadership, but it's not going to be, that much better. I think at best, Morbius is probably as good, probably slightly worse than X-23, maybe slightly better for PvP, but slightly worse for PvP. So that would be a good comparison. If you invested in Morbius and you were happy with your investment, I think you'll be more than happy with your investment in X-23, and you're just buying a uniform. You're not buying a bio subscription to get his biometrics. Now, X-23 is kind of annoying to get bios for because of the Shield Lab and the X-Gene processor, but it's way cheaper. It's literally free compared to Morbius, which you literally have to spend real money for. So let's take a look at my build real quick here. I'm ranked 1499, just under 1500, which is not bad. 29,000 physical attack, which is pretty high. She gets converted over to a combat type from a base speed type. So that is why her HP is going to go up and her physical attack is going to go up, because combat types have higher base stats than speed types. She also has 31,000 HP. As far as the build goes, I've got 5-star, mostly 5-star Uru with physical attack, crit rate, and a little bit of crit damage and a little bit of skill cooldown. We don't have anything capped because she doesn't have passives that give her a lot of base stats like Rogue or other characters. So I basically just have the obvious, that the mandatory ignore defense and cooldown capped. For the rest of her build, we've got a rank 3 type enhancement. We've got a stage 9 overdrive. Now, here's the thing. With the old X-23 uniform, you would get hit a lot. So I would recommend overdrive because you're going to trigger her wild sense passive when she's healing, and you're going to get that 10% all speed and 10% crit rate. That's not really the case anymore. As you saw with the rotation, I basically never got hit against Proxima, and that's one of the selling points. That's one of the charms, the good things about X-23. So you actually would prefer to use Power of Angry Hulk because she has a really long iframe on Wolverine Cross. You want to get through that faster with more attack speed. So if I could change her build, I would probably want closer to 130% attack speed, and I would probably want this to be Power of Angry Hulk. The Obelisk is just a guard break, recovery rate 180, so it's basically just a 180 proc Obelisk. But you can see that she was doing better than Morbius. Now Morbius's build is a little bit worse. He's stage 64 instead of stage level 64 instead of level 70. He has just the 5-star physical attack guru. He doesn't have anything else, but his stats are pretty similar. He's got 180% crit damage, he's got 37% crit rate, and he actually has self buffs. He has a higher all defense down, -60, and he's got this self buff, this 45% all attack, all defense with a 45% crit rate. So he actually ends up capping his crit rate. The main difference is that Nick has another 40% attack there. The main difference is that Morbius doesn't have accumulation, whereas X-23 does have accumulation. But he's got a similar build. He's got Powder Ranger Hulk here. He's got a crit damage 140 proc. So the proc isn't as high, but it's got more stats. He doesn't have a uniform, but you know, I think it's a pretty decent comparison between these two characters. That's obviously going to disappoint some people. The difference being that I think X-23 is going to outperform Morbius a little bit once they're both transcended. From what I've heard, Morbius transcended may be a little bit better for PvP, but X-23 transcended all new Wolverine is going to be better for PvE. Is she going to be as good as Rogue, as Gambit, as some of the other characters we've gotten recently? No. Is she going to be as bad as Nightcrawler? No. So she's somewhere in between Gambit and Nightcrawler as far as recently transcended characters go. She seems to be maybe a little bit better for Null than Valkyrie as far as dealing the main damage, but of course she doesn't have any of the support buffs that Valkyrie has, and she doesn't seem to be better than Valkyrie for ABX as a standalone character. So where that leaves X-23 in the meta is pretty, you know, middling. I would say she's very mid-tier, but she does have some good things going for her, and she does have hopefully some improvements to be made, because one big thing that a lot of people have noticed is that her increased debuff effect, right? That last line there underneath the guaranteed dodge rate, that doesn't stack with a leadership. And it was pretty disappointing to see, because we were really excited when we saw that. It's one of the first times that a character gets that kind of passive effect for themselves, because she has all defense down. She's -50%. So that -50 gets bumped up automatically by default to -60. So we were thinking, you know, players were thinking, -60 and then multiplied by Dr. Voodoo's lead, oh, -84. So she's gonna hit pretty hard, right? Maybe she's not gonna do very well against Null, but she's gonna crush it, right? If you go ahead and you test her with Dr. Voodoo's lead, and keep in mind, it doesn't matter whether you use Enchantress, Dr. Voodoo, or White Fox, because she doesn't have the leadership tag. But when you take a look at her all defense down, it does not go past -60. So I really think that this is a quick and easy fix for the devs to make, and this is one that can definitely improve her. You can see there it says -70. So what that's basically doing is it's just taking Dr. Voodoo's lead. It is more than her -60, but it's only 10% more. So rather than getting the full amount of hers and his, it's only taking the greater of the two options, which, as you can probably guess, is kind of annoying, right? You want those types of effects to stack, because that's the whole point of those effects. You want to go as high as possible. So you really aren't going to see much of a difference here in terms of the clear speed between using Nick Fury lead or even Beast lead and passing the buff versus Dr. Voodoo. So for players that don't have a lot of debuff leads, that's good. You can get another strong female combat physical damage character to clear regular world boss if you didn't have 5 yet. And you really love mutants and you just want to build 5 mutant teams. Like you can see here, it's almost identical to that 1 minute clear that we did with Beast, right? It's literally almost identical. So you're really not going to see a difference there. On the flip side, it's a little bit disappointing because you wanted that synergy to be there, right? So, you know, just to clarify, you're not going to get more production out of Dr. Voodoo compared to like Beast lead or Crescent lead. And you're actually going to get more production out of someone like Nick Fury because he has the leadership and the passive, and he can pass that buff at the very beginning when he creates that shield logo. So I'm going to show you now what I think is her best team up. Obviously, you can sub out Taskmaster for any other support that has an insight, like, you know, Shuri, Valkyrie. It doesn't really matter who you use. She has guaranteed crit rate, so you don't have to worry about using Coulson specifically, but you pass the buff, you do the 3 really quickly, and then you try to proc on 5. And this is where you're going to see the most damage. And then as soon as you see that first slash of that X, then you're going to go into 4, and then you're going to go into 3, and then you're going to go back into 5. So the really nice thing that I want to highlight here about X-23 is she has a very smooth rotation, and she has a very safe rotation, because her 5th is a long iframe, and then her 4 is another iframe that has paralysis at the end, and then her 3rd skill is immunity with the accumulation buff. So the accumulation buff is pretty short. It literally ends as soon as the 5th skill ends. You can see there I've only got 3 seconds left on it, 2 seconds, 1 second. But this is a really smooth rotation. And because you apply the fourth skill, we're 15 seconds, 17 seconds fast. Because you apply the paralysis on the fourth skill, after you pop the fifth skill, Proxima basically doesn't move. And this is why I wanted to use Morbius as an example, because I praised Morbius when he came out, saying, you know what, with the charm, he's one of the few physical damage characters that can lock down the boss. And, you know, not everybody is playing for the meta. Not everyone is playing for the highest possible clear. And some people just want some easy, fun, you know, scratchy, cat-like, Wolverine-like combos. And with X-23, you're going to get that. An even better version, in my opinion, than Morbius, because you've got more damage, and it's a way safer combo. Remember how Morbius was getting snared by the tornadoes? That's what I want. That's another thing I wanted to highlight. She's not going to get snared. She's always in iframe. And then she pops that 3, and she gets that immunity with Bestial Roar. I've been missing all of my procs, and that's why my damage has gone down. We're actually procking on the end of 4 and the beginning of 3, which is why I don't recommend an Obelisk. I mean, an Obelisk can work, but it's inconsistent, and that's always been my criticism for X-23, is that for some reason, she just, even though she has a lot of hits on her skills, she just doesn't proc her Obelisk. Maybe it's my Obelisk is just wonky. You can definitely make it work with an Obelisk as far as her skills go. But personally, if I was going to build her, I would give her a Rage, just because I've never had consistency on her procs. She can definitely work with an Obelisk. She can definitely work with the CTP of Energy. Personally, given her guaranteed crit rate, her 35% guaranteed crit rate like her dad, and just given the fact that I've never been able to have her proc consistently land, and this proc, I've had this proc on her for years, right back, you know, 2018 when she got this, or 2019 when she got this uniform. I've never gotten it to work. So, you know, out of my own experience, I would say Rage, but I can definitely see her working with an Obelisk or an Energy, and she's basically just a better version of Morbius. Now, again, whether you want that or not, I don't know. She's obviously going to be even better with Hunting Party, because now she's going to get the -60. So that -60 plus her own her own 20% increase of debuffs would be 72. So she can push it up to -72% all defense down, which is nice. Again, if you wanted to sub in Dr. Voodoo at that point, maybe Dr. Voodoo lead would be better for her when you have Hunting Party. But as far as non-transcended goes, Nick Fury or Beast is going to be better. The one other good thing that Nightcrawler also has is that it's a 15-second debuff. That's a really, really long time. It's not the full length of the cooldown, because the cooldown on Awakening Seals is 30 seconds, but you can basically fit an extra rotation in. So the first 2 rotations you have are going to have -72 or -84% all defense down, depending on what lead you go for, which is very nice. But I don't see her being meta for anything at all. And you know, I do know, you know, we already know that there are better characters out there for combat PvE content. Moon Knight is still, you know, top dog, and we've got a bunch of other characters that can still pull their weight in a major way. But she's not bad. She's definitely better than Nightcrawler. Not quite as good as Gambit, but a very smooth, very straightforward clear. Right? It's just 3 cancel 5, and then as soon as you see that first red X, you do 4. She does the paralysis, and then you go right back into 3. So super easy rotation, super smooth. I'm gonna probably wait to transcend her. I want to see a little bit more from other players. That's gonna allow me to possibly work on Molecule Man in the meantime, because I have, you know, saved some of my tier 3 materials to start working on his gears. So I might start climbing that ladder to get him closer and closer to tier 3. But let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of X-23. Maybe she has some hidden value for PvP. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, I don't see her making a huge splash in any game mode for the time being. So unfortunately, the Logan family, the Howlett family is going to have to wait for another day to reign supreme once again. I don't know. Anyways, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.